Starlight Lore. For centuries, the Mistwalker race harvested the mystical powers of the Starlight Shards, those wondrous gleaming stones that held the true power of creation, to make something from nothing, to birth new energy into existence. In truth, the very foundation of magic. Blade Mist, ancestral home of the Mistwalkers, was rich in starlight shards, and their boundless power guided their civilization forward until they became the most advanced force in the entire universe. Limitless, they traveled to nearby dwarf planets to seek out and gather more shards that had rich veins of starlight. Each planet had a dominant starlight type. Through an incredibly rare process of heat and pressure, they became encased in near unbreakable shells of crystal, preventing them from releasing their magnificent power, instead becoming buried and forgotten. That was until the Mistwalkers' astronomers found them, and in the same studious breath discovered magic. Freeing the starlight trapped beneath the crystal released a burst of creative power onto the world. Controlling and shaping that release is the basis of all arcanisms. Not all can be controlled by the user, though. Each shard has certain types of magic, detonated by the color of their crystalline shell. The shards were used to fuel the growth of their nascent starlight core, an enormous centralized arcane generator that would manage magic under the watchful supervision and control of the Mist Lord. Of course, this plan wasn't only meant to ensure a fair distribution of the Starlight Shard's power. There are those who say it wasn't done for that at all, that it was only a matter of political control. The Mist Lord at the time, Fear-Del, was battling the astronomer aristocracy, a collection of important regional rulers, for power. The centralization of starlight magic in his hands would mean a gradual but inevitable erosion of the astronomers' importance and eventually their extinction as a political class. The descent of High Astronomer Jeer. When it became obvious that the astronomer aristocracy was losing the political fight against Mist Lord Del, one of the High Astronomers, Lord Jeer, refused to hand over his starlight shards and give in to the coming age of tyranny. Instead, he fled, carrying all the starlight he had accrued over the past decades, and descended upon a primitive but somewhat civilized Earth. Alas, his fate was not a good one. While his escape was successful, he was found rather quickly by the bannermen of King Li-Talir, a cruel man with insatiable ambition. The human king had Jeer tortured for information about the Starlight Shards, but he refused to reveal his secrets, honorable and stoic to the very end. His death was unworthy of his illustriousness. Tortured to death in the obscure, rat-infested dungeons of a primitive kingdom. Truly one of the worst injustices of history. The descent of the Starlight Core. Li-Talir's arcanists studied the Starlight Shards for decades after, slowly learning their secrets and true power. A particularly brilliant human astronomer managed to decode the stone's vibrations, a very particular magical quiver, identifiable over long distances. That's when humanity found out that far above them, in the distant dwarf planet known as Blade Mist, the greatest magical treasure to ever exist lay just out of reach. But not for long. Channeling the power of the modest amount of starlight energy they stole from High Astronomer Jeer, King Li-Talir, ordered his mages and arcanists to cast a tremendously powerful spell of gravitational binding. Their target was the Starlight Core, that huge mass of arcane potential. As we know today, this enterprise was suicidal at best, apocalyptic at worst. The outcome turned out to be somewhere between these two. The fall of the Starlight Core, witnessed across the Earth like a second sun falling from the sky, vaporized King Li Talir's realm and devastated its closest neighbors. What they didn't expect was the sheer force of the energy they were attracting. The Earthen Thievery. The Starlight Core was ripped out of Blade Mist's heart, causing an instant destruction all across the planet, and effectively collapsing Mistwalker's society afterwards. They will not soon forget what humanity did to them, purposefully or not. Fallen from the skies, the very unstable Starlight Core wrought destruction on Earth and much of Earth's central region, the land we call Forgotten Swords today. Faraway regions were affected by comparatively minor disasters, distant reverberations of the impact, such as earthquakes, tsunamis, avalanches, landslides, and small but permanent tectonic shifts. The worst disaster was suffered much farther though, in Blade Mist. In a single stroke, their flourishing civilization was wiped back to the Stone Age. Centuries of civil war, hunger, and widespread death followed. This crime will never be forgotten by the Mistwalkers, who have vied for revenge ever since. Many years later, the scattered remnants of the Starlight Core began to surface as valiant explorers reclaimed the vaporized lands. These shards of the fractured core are now one of the most precious currencies on Earth because their value as powerful magic crystals.